will the number 4 pick end up being the best player in this draft?
Every NBA draft has one. One player that makes a few teams spend the next decade asking themselves one question. How? How did we let him slip? Not saying Caleb Wilson is guaranteed to become that player. Summer League doesn't crown superstars, and history is filled with players who looked amazing in July before disappearing once the regular season started. But sometimes, Summer League introduces us to something bigger than statistics. Sometimes, it introduces us to a mindset. Before we even talk about Caleb Wilson, we need to talk about this draft class, because I don't think people fully appreciate just how talented this group could become. AJ DeBanson, Darren Peterson, son of Carlos Boozer, Cameron Boozer, and of course, Mr. Caleb Wilson. These are 4 prospects, 4 players with superstar expectations, 4 players who could define the next generation of the NBA. And if they all come anywhere close to reaching their potential, we could be looking at one of the greatest draft classes basketball has seen in decades. Think about the 2003 NBA class. LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Dwyane Wade, Chris Bosh. 4 Hall of Fame careers from the top 5 picks. That's one of the greatest draft classes in NBA history. And no, I'm not saying this class will definitely become that. But nobody honestly knows. The talent, for sure, the expectations amongst the group, the upside for the top 4 in the group, it's certainly high enough to make the comparison worth discussing. And if this class really does become that special, then the question gets even bigger. What if the best player from one of the greatest draft classes we've seen in years wasn't picked first? What if he was picked 4th? 3 teams passed on Caleb Wilson. 3 organizations looked at the same player and decided someone else was better. Most rookies would have smiled for the cameras, thanked God, thanked their family, and said they were just happy to be drafted. Caleb Wilson, he didn't do that. At his introductory press conference, he was asked about the players drafted ahead of him. His response? Quote, "I played all of them. You know what happened when I played them." Then, he followed it up with something that immediately caught my attention. Again, quote, "I expect to win Rookie of the Year." And now, whether you agree with that or not doesn't really matter, because confidence is free. The NBA has always had confident players. The difference is, eventually, confidence has to meet reality. Anybody can walk into a press conference and tell the world they're the best player in the draft. Anybody can tell everyone they should have gone first. Anybody can predict Rookie of the Year. But eventually, you have to get on the court and you have to back those claims up. So far, Caleb Wilson has. Through his first Summer League games, the number 4 pick is averaging 27.5 points per game, leading the top 4 picks in scoring. The number 1 pick is averaging 25. The number 2 pick is averaging 21.5. And the number 3 pick is averaging 18.7. And now, let me be clear. I'm not telling you these numbers mean Caleb Wilson is automatically going to become the best player from this draft. I'm saying something much simpler. So far, every word he's spoken has been supported by the way he's played. And then came the quote that made me want to actually make this video. After the number 1 and number 2 picks were shut down for the remainder of Summer League, Caleb Wilson was asked about not getting the chance to play them. His answer? Quote, "I wish they would have played." And for me, I absolutely love that. Not because he's disrespecting anybody, not because he's trying to manufacture some fake rivalry. I love it because he's telling us exactly who he is. I feel like somewhere along the way, I think we've started confusing competitiveness with disrespect. Every athlete is expected to give the same polished answers. I have no problem with players respecting one another. Shake hands after the game. Exchange jerseys if you have to. Build friendships with one another. That's all fine and good. But for 48 minutes in between the lines, Give me competitors. Give me players who honestly believe they are better than the person standing across from them. Give me players who are not afraid to get in front of the microphone and say, I wanted that matchup. Because competition is what made sports great in the first place. Think back to this past All-Star game. Victor Wembanyama stepped on the floor and actually competed. Anthony Edwards, after the game, talked about how Wemby's intensity completely changed the atmosphere of the game. One player decided that the game mattered to him, and everybody else raised their level. Because competition is contagious. That's why I don't hear Caleb Wilson's quotes and think arrogance. I hear a player who's hungry. I've seen people compare parts of his game to Kevin Garnett because of his motor, his versatility, his relentless intensity, his size. And now, let's be fair. Kevin Garnett is one of the greatest competitors this league has ever seen. And Caleb Wilson hasn't earned the comparison through accomplishments. But if he carries even a fraction of KG's mentality, Chicago might have found something special. Because Kevin Garnett never apologized for wanting to dominate the player standing across from him. Michael Jordan definitely didn't. If memory serves, Kobe Bryant didn't. Those players respected greatness, but they also wanted to beat greatness. That's the mentality I hope never disappears from basketball. And that's exactly why Caleb Wilson has my attention. Not because of one 35-point summer league game. Not because he's leading the top 4 picks in scoring after only a couple of games. Because his actions and his words are telling the exact same story. He's not hiding from expectations. He's running straight forward towards them. So let me leave you with the same question I asked at the beginning. Maybe the 3 teams ahead of Chicago made the right decisions. Maybe Caleb Wilson becomes a really good NBA player while someone else from this class becomes a Hall of Famer. All that is absolutely possible. But what if 5 years from now, we're talking about this draft class the same way we talk about the 2003 draft class? What if AJ DeBanta, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and Caleb Wilson all become stars? And what if history remembers this as one of the defining drafts of an entire generation? If that happens, history won't just remember who was picked first. History will remember who turned out to be the best. And if that player ends up being Caleb Wilson, the story won't just be that 3 teams passed on him. The story will be that he told everyone exactly what he was coming to do. And then spent the rest of his career proving he meant every single word. This is Sports Zen. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.